So I thought today we'd take a look at the melons. So I've got 3 beds of melons. I've got 2 low tunnels and I've got 1 cold frame. And I've got cantaloupes, honeydews and watermelons growing. And without a doubt, it's the honeydews that are doing the best. So in this bed we've probably got, I don't know, 6 at least. And so really at that point I think that that's probably enough. That's as many as this one plant can support. So there's 1 plant per square metre, and they're planted in these tomato halos actually, but I think they've worked really nicely because it means I can just water quite deep down into the root zone without getting the foliage of the plants wet. And you know, I know how much water I'm putting down, and the water's kind of delivered, as I say, down into the root zone quite slowly as well. This bed is covered with strulch, and that means I've got next to no annual weed problems, no slug or snail problems, and it means it's a nice environment for the melon to grow in as well. You know, when they're touching, rather than touching the soil and going mouldy, they're kind of touching this quite dry straw. So I'm hoping that is going to work out nicely. I've still got obviously perennial weed problems in here, like I have in all my beds with mare's tail and all that, but yeah, pretty pleased with that. And in that one I've got cantaloupe, and there's a few of those, but they're way smaller, but they're coming on, so I'm kind of quite pleased. It looks like I've got enough pollinated to sort of start pinching out the growing tips on these and taking off the flowers. So yeah, that's quite encouraging for my first year. So this cold frame is cantaloupe, and these plants aren't doing quite as well. I just think they're not quite as warm in the cold frame as they were in the low tunnel, but also these plants were put out a couple of weeks later, and actually 2 weeks might make all the difference. So I haven't got any, I've got plenty of little female flowers on, but I haven't got any significant fruit set at the moment on this one. So I'm hoping for some warm weather so I can leave this top sort of open on its small chocks and let the bees and other pollinators in to do their job. And if I don't see any fruit set within the next week or so, I'll probably hand pollinate a little bit. But yeah, so these are, as I say, these are the cantaloupes here and honeydew here, which is interesting really to see the contrast between the 2 honeydews. You know, this one only just little tiny fruits, you know, about a sort of thumbnail in size at the moment, rather than, you know, great big ones like a sort of large orange or something. But the plants look fine, so I'm kind of quite encouraged that there's still plenty of time left. I don't want them all to come at the same time. And this bed's also covered with strulch. And then my 3rd bed's the watermelons, and these aren't doing so well. Now of course it may be that, you know, that's just a characteristic of watermelons, they're just not as lush in terms of leaf growth. There's the odd little female flower, but most of them are still male flowers. But that's in a way not surprising because the weather's been so cold. You know, we're back down below 14 degrees at night. You know, and ideally these would like it to be 15 degrees at night. So, you know, they're doing okay, but not great so far. But it's a nice experiment to try all 3 different types of melons and see which do best. Interestingly, these were the first to be planted out as well, and so actually the first few weeks of life were the coldest of all of the 3 beds. And then in the polytunnel I've got another honeydew, and again that's doing really well, and really nice little fruits on that. and a cantaloupe in the other corner, and these were planted out really late. These are just spare plants. I haven't got any bed space in the polytunnel for them, so I thought I'd try them in containers, and actually so far they're doing pretty well in the containers. So it's going to provide an interesting comparison between the performance outside in those low tunnels and coal frames and the performance inside in the polytunnel. But yeah, so no experience at all growing melons, so it's really quite exciting for me this year. But if you've got experience and you observe anything or got any hints and tips, then please feel free to pass them on. And I have got a guide to growing melons, which kind of I distilled from reading loads of other people's guides on melons and added my own little bits of research and things. So if you want to take a look at that and comment on that, then please do. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.